welcome to another episode of the Closers Klub. I'm Robert Nichols, and I'm joined today by Roberto Green. What's going on, Roberto?
How's it going, brother?
I'm doing great, man. Just want to thank you for coming into the studio. For those of you that don't know, Roberto is a man of many talents. He's a real estate investor. He's got some Airbnb property down in Puerto Rico. He's also a real estate mentor. He's got a great mentorship program. And he's here today to share a little bit about his story. So we're just going to jump into it. So Roberto, tell us a little bit about your origin story. Where'd you come from? Where were you born and raised? And what really makes Roberto who he is today?
Born and raised in Boston, man. I've been here my whole life.
Nice, man. Love it.
Born and raised. My story always started with I became a father at 20.
Wow.
Because that's where it really got interesting. So,
aren't you 21?
No, yeah, right. I'm 34.
Good stuff.
34. My son's 13. My daughter's 10. I love him to death. But
I love it.
That's where I start my story. That was really a game changer for me. Becoming a father at a young age. You know, I started really, like, my whole life shifted at that point. You know, I was just left college. I actually dropped out of college after 2 years. I was 20. My girlfriend at the time was 18. And I was working 3 jobs. And I really just had to hustle. So it was really like, let go of college, work 3 jobs. I worked at a supermarket. I worked at Sears when it was open. And I also delivered newspapers. And I think the real game changer for me was a program called Year Up. It's a 1-year intensive training program where they just like literally changed my world and provided me opportunities that I needed that I would have probably never had gotten without the college degree at the time. And I studied finance operations. So I went through the program. I did 6 months of training, literally Monday through Friday. They have you dressing up and have you learning financial literacy, business communications. And after the 6 months is up, they basically put you into an internship program to get real life experience. So I started working at State Street Bank in client trade support, and I had to work with the Latin American clients that they had. So I was not only doing things, learning things in English, but I had to also learn how to translate them in Spanish. So
wow,
it was definitely a journey, but that allowed me to really progress in corporate America and really understand systems and processes, and that's what really helped me with my business now that I do in real estate. But I worked in State Street Bank for 5 years, I would say. Then I went to JP Morgan. JP Morgan, I ended up leaving cold turkey and got into the restaurant industry before I got into real estate. But before I left JP Morgan, I took advantage of my 401k. I liquidated half of my 401k and I was able to buy my primary home,
nice,
which was an investment home as well, I would say. I house hacked it. It was a 2-family in Brockton. I bought it for $320 back in 2017. And when I really learned the power of real estate, it was back 2021 when I sold it for $550.
Beautiful.
So it was a huge profit, and that really just got me into like the power of real estate and how much it can actually do for you.
I love that, man. Thank you for sharing your story, Roberto. It's a powerful story. And we're going to jump into the real estate leap.
Yeah.
But to backtrack a little bit, Year Up, I've heard a lot about that program. And would you say they had a very, very impactful part of your journey? They were very impactful in your growth and you kind of getting on the trajectory and path you're on today?
They helped me become independent. They helped me provide opportunity that probably corporate America wouldn't have provided me without a college degree. So the fact that they were able to put me in, teach me what I needed to learn, and give me real life experience as an intern in 1 year. You know, they did in 1 year what most colleges take 4. And to me, that was just a game changer because I could prove myself to the company. And the company, I still remember the first interview I had, and the lady just loved my motivation. She was like, out of everybody that I interviewed, you were the most motivated, at least qualified. You know, I'm coming with Stop and Shop and Sears background. But I was the most motivated. And she was like, I'm so impressed by you. I know anybody else, they would have taken that job and left. You took it, you ran with it, and I was promoted 2 times, like within 2 years.
Love it.
She said that doesn't happen. That's not normal. So she was really impressed, and she was happy with picking me as the intern to actually work full time.
No, man, it's great. And it's funny you say that because that was my next question. I was thinking to myself, I'm like, man, based on what you stated, it's like this guy is super motivated. He's got a crazy work ethic. And I've seen that obviously just in our conversation and you know, us chatting, I can see that. Where do you think that comes from, Roberto? That work ethic, that drive, that hunger? Because a lot of young people struggle with finding motivation, right? And so Where do you think that comes from for you?
I think it was instilled in me. My grandmother, like, I saw my parents working, 9 to 5. They worked very hard. My mother's a school teacher for the Boston Latin School. She's now retired, and my father, he works in the airlines. And seeing them, like, I barely saw them. We spent a lot of time together, but I was raised by my grandmother. And I didn't realize it until, you have your own kids. Like, where are my parents? Then you go to school, and then it's like you live your life and your parents are still working. So to me, it was more just seeing and observing. And then my grandmother always instilled in me, like, the entrepreneurship. So long story short, like, I used to take, like, all my little toy cars, and then I used to post, like, little prices on them, like 10 cents, 25 cents. And I used to sell it to her, and she used to buy it for me. So that's when I started really learning, like, oh, you can take stuff, sell them, and buy them. And then I took that into high school. I started selling candy. I would go to Costco, buy like a 30 pack for like $10, and then sell them for $20 profit. Go back, rinse and repeat the process until they told me that was illegal and I couldn't do it.
Is it really illegal though?
You can't do it.
Is it illegal?
Unless it's for like a baseball team.
Come on,
like,
man.
I was like,
talk about crushing the entrepreneurial spirit, man.
Yeah.
I would have loved you in high school, man. Like, yo, let's partner up. Let's do it.
I used to skip classes just to go to work and Stop and Shop. Like,
wow.
It got to that level. What really got me to that point was my physics teacher. When I asked him the question, how is this going to help us in real life? And I still remember to this day, he said specifically, this might not help you at all in life, but the only thing that you're probably going to remember is a squared plus b squared equals c squared.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
After that, I skipped his class almost all the time just to basically get a D or C just to pass it.
Yeah.
I used to leave the last period to go to work because I'm like, I'd rather go work, get paid, and make money.
Right.
And that was just when I started learning the differences or like the lack of what I was learning to help me in real life.
Crazy, man. What high school did you go to?
The John D. O'Brien.
Me too.
Oh,
I didn't know that. I didn't know you were OB grad. Who was your teacher?
For what?
The physics. Who was?
I don't want to throw him out there.
Is he still there?
I'm not throwing names. I don't know.
I got you, man. Yeah. No, that's crazy. No, wow, what a coincidence, man. I went to O'Brien. A lot of O'Brien kids had that drive, man.
They do.
They have that drive. I noticed that.
Smart kids, super smart. It was one of the 3 exam schools.
Right. And we're kind of the low man on the totem pole. So I feel like we all who go there want to prove ourselves, right? We didn't go to Latin. We didn't go to Latin Academy. But we're like, you know what? We made it into a school, and we're going to show folks we belong. You know what I mean? We should have been at Latin. They made a mistake. Nah, that's good stuff, man. I really appreciate you sharing that, because I feel like even for me, like my motivation, like you said, came from seeing my dad work so hard. My whole life, that's all I ever knew. Like my father worked, right? Like he couldn't make it to my sports games. He couldn't always be there, but he just grinded. And like I see it now, and it's funny you say that. Like our kids, we've got 4 kids, and sometimes they don't understand when I'm not around or I'm not always home or I can't always make it to their events. They do get disappointed here and there, and I do my best to get there, definitely, because I understand how important that is. But there are times where you have to do what you got to do to provide for your family. And so I think that example, as we get older, we can appreciate it a lot more once we become parents. And you hit the nail on the head that, becoming a parent matures you in a very different way, especially if you want to be a good parent, right? We could be a deadbeat and it's kind of live your life as if, you're just doing you. But, what kind of legacy are you leaving, and, what kind of impact are you going to have on these kids? And I think in America in general right now, you just see a lot of folks who lack that character, lack that responsibility, and aren't there for their kids. You know what I mean? They're still maturing and figuring it out. But I commend you for figuring that out early, man. It's powerful.
I appreciate that. And they say wealth skips a generation. Like when people have it all, it's like they're not struggling. So it's like me, I travel a lot. So when I travel, like I travel to like Central America and other places, Dominican Republic, but you see like how kids really live like in poverty. Like poverty here is nothing compared to poverty in these other countries. So like when I see it, it's just the kids here, they don't appreciate it because they don't value it, because they take it for granted, because they don't know anything else. Just using the bathroom alone and just having clean water that you can drink, they don't have that in certain places, and it's something that you take for granted and you get comfortable. So until you lose it, that's when you really realize, how good you have it.
True. Well said, man. We'll jump back into the real estate side of things, man, which is great. Like I said, powerful story. Commend you for your courage. Commend you for really making it happen and just being accountable to yourself, man, and your kids. So after you finished J.P. Morgan, you decided to buy your first property in Brockton, 2017. Mm-hmm. You flipped it. Sounds like for like a $200,000 profit-ish.
Yeah,
180 or something like that.
It was 180, 200, almost $200,000 profit. Yeah, basically. But it wasn't a flip as much as it was just buy and hold.
Right.
And then just taking advantage of the equity that had built up in that area.
And what did that do for you, Roberto? Did that was that the spark? You're like, wait a minute, I really should do this full time. And when you left J.P. Morgan, was it to pursue real estate full time, or kind of what was the game plan when you exited there?
No, so when I left J.P. Morgan, I got into the restaurant industry, and that was just me itching to get into the entrepreneurship world. I didn't love 9 to 5, but I loved that I was able to learn and take care of my family with that money, with the income that I was making from there. But what I did realize was that I wasn't happy doing what I was doing in any corporate setting, and I didn't like being tied 9 to 5. As most people would complain that they don't like to do now. So me, it was more like, okay, let me take a leap of faith, venture off into a new business, and really move forward with what I believe I can do. And I wanted to prove myself that I can get it done. So I took a restaurant that my wife owns, and when she started, it wasn't doing that well. It was probably only making like $100,000 in gross revenue a year, which is nothing.
Right.
But I took everything that I had learned throughout the years in corporate and just from different marketing companies. And long story short, I took that business. I grew it to almost $1 million in gross revenue. We opened 2 other locations, one in MIT and one in Harvard. We were the first Latino and Dominican-owned restaurants inside of MIT and Harvard history.
Wow.
So we grew it there. And we expanded the catering business, which is really what I feel will make or break these restaurant businesses. So if you don't have any foot traffic, because I learned a lot about the restaurant industry. So if you don't have a lot of foot traffic or volume or catering, I really don't see how a lot of these restaurants are making it. Nowadays, like there's no way that they can survive with the especially after the pandemic. You saw over 60% of restaurants close permanently. And there's a reason for that. You have your high labor costs, you have your lack of foot traffic, you have your high inventory costs. I saw rice go from $15 for 100 pounds to $30 per 100 pounds, which
double.
It's double, and we get wholesale prices from like wholesalers. So I can only imagine what retail is. That's why we're seeing such inflated prices. So to me, it was like, there's no way these restaurants are surviving, and I know they're not surviving. I know they're struggling. And then you have, in particular here in Boston, they're getting rid of all the parking. They're putting these bike pathways.
Right.
That's crushing these businesses.
Yeah.
And they're not going to survive. It's just a matter of time. And you're seeing it now, the after effects. But that's a complete different story. But to get back into the restaurant industry.
Yeah, I was going to say, to touch on that, Robert, how did you guys survive during COVID? Was it the hospitality side? And you guys, did you do well? Did you expand? Did you guys contract?
Yeah, so it's literally adapting. You have to adapt to change, and you have to adapt to problems, and that you need to find solutions, like we were just talking. There's a problem, we need to find a solution. We had a lot of catering clients who were making like $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a month. Once COVID hit,
gone.
That went away.
Yeah.
Then we were like, okay, well, where's the money going? Who needs to get fed? People still need to eat. So then we worked with the World Central Kitchen and started donating meals with them, but they would also compensate us because they were getting donations. So we were donating food to the community. We were very heavily involved with the community. A lot of counselors that we connected with as well to give back and just give free food. But we worked with them. Off Their Plate was another program that came about, and we just really started collaborating and using our network to really see how, we can still survive but keep our doors open. So during the pandemic, we were probably like one of the very few restaurants that remained open, but just to serve that catering, those meals for the first responders and then for people that were affected by COVID. So
powerful, man. How'd you guys do post-pandemic? Did you continue to grow? Did you guys decide to kind of move in a different direction?
It was never the same. After catering had taken a massive hit, that was 75% of our business. Originally, it was probably like less than 25. But at our peak, it was like over 75% of our business. And then after the pandemic, it's still like 40, 50% because a lot of the people aren't working back in in the companies. Office spaces are empty. Corporations had to back up with their budgets.
Correct.
So a lot of the food expenses weren't there anymore. So it was never, I personally feel it was never the same. And that's when I figured out I have to pivot. So throughout that time, one of my customers and my mentor, Fran de Aguas Vivas, he had a shirt that said, "I buy houses cash." So me being the curious kid that I am, I'm like, how do you buy houses cash? Are you a millionaire? Like, what do you have? Like, how do you have money? Like, you have a lot of money? I started asking questions because it was out there. So then he started explaining to me the whole process of fixing and flipping homes. I had heard about it before, but I never really ventured into it until he told me he had a coaching program. So it was a high ticket price mentorship program, but I had saved up enough money from crypto that I had investments prior with the whole Bitcoin boom and whatnot. And I decided to invest with him. And literally he taught me everything from start to finish when it comes to buying and fixing and flipping homes. He would take me to a lot of his projects. He would show me all his contractors. He would show me how it is to talk to clients and potential homeowners, how to find deals, right?
Right. Yep.
It took me a year to find my first deal through a real estate agent, but it was scary, I'm not going to lie, but having him there with me, guiding me through the process, made me feel a lot more confident and comfortable. So one of my first projects was in Woburn, and that was like a whole like full gut renovation. Like if it wasn't for me not knocking down that foundation, it would have been a new build.
Yep.
But I can tell you, I learned so much through that particular process of fixing it, doing a full gut renovation from start to finish. It was amazing, and it was literally like a game changer and an eye opener for me, where I'm like, wow, this is real. You know, you see a 6-figure check as profit, and you're like, wow, like this really works. So it kind of like just validated all the education that I was getting, all the videos that I would see. No, it's not easy. No, it's not like something that you can just get into just blindly because you see something on YouTube. Like, it's something that you really need to get training for. I'm surprised there's no like school for it, but this is kind of where like the people come in and out. And this is why I started my mentorship program, because I saw that there's a lack of that. It's people just learning on the go, and they're losing. Like, I've met people that have lost over $100,000 on a flip project. Like, you can owe people money. And it's a dangerous place to be, especially if you're borrowing from close families and friends, which is what they tell you to do in the beginning. Yeah. You know, private capital, use other people's money. Okay, but are you educated enough to use other people's money? You know, the project that I have now in Puerto Rico, I would have never borrowed money from anybody unless I was 100% confident in that project. So because I am confident, because I have the experience, and because I have the network that can assist me or the answers that I need to really move forward, that's how I feel comfortable now starting to ask people for money. And I'm starting to realize, like, asking for $50,000, $100,000 is a small ask. You know, to some people when we first started, it's like, oh wow, $50,000. To the big boys like you guys, like, oh, you know, talk to me about $1 million or more. Right. So that's what I'm starting to realize now, and that's kind of the transition that I'm facing now, where I'm like, okay, people don't want small fix and flip projects. Some people, not all, but the big boys, like the people, the big money, you know, they're looking for $1 million project plus to really lend their money out and make a good return. So it's like I'm not rushing. I think I'm growing at a good pace, and I'm comfortable with that. But I know there's different levels, and I know I'm starting to seek different levels, like bigger projects. But for now, I've been focusing a lot on fix and flip projects and wholesaling.
Love it, man. No, do you think, Roberto, that having a mentor like Frandy gave you the confidence to really believe you can jump into this business and be successful?
Yeah, 100%. Like you cannot get into this business without a mentor. And if you do, I caution you, you know, not just because I have a mentorship program, whether you get mentorship from me or somebody else, you need mentorship. You know, it's like you're not going to go to do surgery without going through the program, you know, going to college. You know, real estate is obviously a little bit different. You know, and this is not something that you can just become an agent and learn. There's a lot of agents that don't know anything about development, fix and flip, investing. They just know how to buy and sell homes. That's it. But they don't know the ins and outs. They don't know the construction side of things, you know, the project management side of things. You know, there's a whole world in real estate, and there's so many different ways to make money, right? So you have with real estate, And this is something that I learned through a mentorship program that I have with Diego Corzo through FI Investors. And they teach, short-term rental, mid-term rental, long-term rental, wholesaling, flipping, the Burr method, buy and hold, and there's just so much. And you get into like the whole taxes, 1031 exchange, Act 60 in Puerto Rico where there's tax incentives, cost segregation studies. Like, it's a whole world. And to me, it's like, if we're making the biggest purchases in our lives, which is typically for somebody, the main person at home, we don't learn any of this
right
anywhere. So to me, it's like the fact that these prices the home prices are so inflated, and people during COVID, they were like overpaying, they were waiving inspection, they were going in and just paying $50,000 or more for these houses. That to me is scary, because they're making ignorant decisions. They're not making educated decisions. And when the more I talk to real estate agents, not to discredit or disrespect any real estate agent, but there's a lot that really don't understand the game. And and you see this when you ask them for comps. They'll give you you get a comp for a single family home, 1,500 square feet, and they'll run comps for like a 2,000 square foot home that sold in the past 2 years, or it's just the smallest things. I'm like, there's no way these prices are so high, and it scares me when I start seeing the prices. But as far as investments, I felt more safe and secured in going out of state, out of Massachusetts. But that's just my personal preference, just because of what I've seen.
Got it. So, couple of things you touched on a lot, man.
I know.
It's all good. It's all good. I want to backtrack a little bit. The first thing that I want to touch on is you talked about, you don't go to perform surgery on someone without going to school. Mm-hmm. But the thing about real estate, I never thought about it from that lens, but you're basically performing surgery on a house when you're going to do a project. I mean, you're taking the guts out, you're putting everything new in, and you got to know how to do that correctly, because if you don't, there could be very, very negative consequences that, again, will lead to loss of fortunes, loss of all types of things, and even loss of life if it's not safe, not a safe environment for people to work in. So I'm really glad you touched on that. And I think something else you touched on that I really respect and appreciate. I'm a licensed broker. I own a brokerage firm. And something I tell all my agents is you don't learn the game in real estate school. You learn it in the field. You learn it when you're trained and mentored by somebody who knows how to sell real estate, how to evaluate properties, and really how to really look at it from all the different lenses for the highest and best use. And we touch on a lot of development and things of that nature. And I think a lot of agents never really get that real education, Roberto. So, I agree with you 100%. And it's unfortunate that so many people get the license and think that's the ticket to get into the game, but yet they really haven't had a formal education on how to engage in real estate at a high level. So I agree with you, man. It's an issue that I address every day with my team. So that's cool, man. So you were saying you don't invest in Mass, but what markets are you currently investing in?
No, I'll touch just to touch base on why Mass, for like the regular person, right, that can't buy like these multi-units. Buying like a multi-family, a duplex, a 3-family, the prices now don't make sense. They don't even meet the 1% rule. 1% rule being, that the rent will cover the mortgage. And to me, the laws here also make it very hard, and people don't talk about it. But Massachusetts is a tenant-friendly state. For you to evict a tenant, it can take you anywhere between 3 to 6 plus months. So imagine 3 to 6 plus months of paying mortgage. No rent coming in.
Absolutely.
You're putting yourself in a hole. So to me, the fact that these laws exist, I understand the pros and the cons, the pros to the tenants and the cons to the landlord. And obviously the protection for both parties. But when I experienced it for myself, it's a different story. I'm coming out of pocket. If I don't have money saved, I'm going to lose. I can potentially lose my house because the bank doesn't care that I'm dealing with tenants. They're like, are you paying mortgage or not?
Right.
And they're not going to give you like a break. They will start the pre-foreclosure process, and they will start the foreclosure, and they'll take your home and they'll sell it for more than what you owe. Like that's the game. Banks never lose. So to me, it's like, that's where I see a lot of risk here in Massachusetts, where if you think you can go and buy a multi-family home, and that you don't need any savings or you don't need any rainy day funds, you're done. Like, you can lose that house with one wrong tenant that you put in there, because the laws will protect that tenant. Even with a 17-page lease agreement that I have, I still had to deal with certain situations. And if you don't know how to evict them properly, that will also delay the process. Because I've gone through situations where I put the husband's name but not the wife's name. So I was able to evict the husband but not the wife.
Yeah.
And I had to start the process all over. And they don't tell you until you're in the process and the judge sees it and, oh, well, you didn't include the wife.
Yeah.
What? So
no, it's real.
There was a lot. And to me, when I started learning, hey, there's landlord friendly states and there's tenant friendly states, I had no idea that existed. But me just going to masterminds and learning and talking to people who have experience, they're like, oh, well, Ohio's a landlord friendly state. You can evict somebody within 30 days.
Yep.
Okay, that's interesting. What are the prices? Oh, you can find houses for like under $100,000. What? Like, you can't find an ADU here for, let alone a garage. You know, like it's expensive here. The numbers don't make sense for investors. You're looking at 4% cap rates. And over there in Ohio, like, yes, it has its own problems. Yes, it's not perfect. But to me, it's a landlord-friendly state. You're finding affordable priced homes. And that, to me, is where I see opportunity. And Ohio is just one of the many states that I saw opportunity. There's different states, different markets. You just have to really learn and understand the market, and you have to build the right team. From property managers to handyman to construction workers, to really having a good agent or person that will, a property manager that will get you the right tenant. They will filter out the tenants and really get somebody there solid. And that, to me, is key. And that's what I'm trying to build out there. So right now I have 11 properties in Ohio, but I'm looking to continue to grow that portfolio just because I feel long-term, you know, it's still affordable. It's still good pricing. Average income out there is $40,000, so people can afford it. You know, they're probably paying like $1,000 rent for an entire house, for a single family house. Like, the prices are insane. But the way we're going, the inflation and everything, I'm making my bets Midwest.
Cool. No, it makes sense, Roberto. So what I would say, and I talk to a lot of people about this, the pros and cons of investing in this market. I think the pros are, like, Boston's a very stabilized and mature market, right? Like, it's obviously very high price, so the barrier to entry is high for a lot of newer investors. And so that's definitely the biggest barrier and why I think a lot of people go elsewhere. And then you touched on it. It's a great point. It's the fact that it's a tenant's right state versus landlord's right state. Like, you just go south of the border, Rhode Island. I used to own, had a portfolio down there, man. You can evict people out in 30 days, 60 days tops if they don't pay. Wow. And not that it's from a perspective of being mean or cruel. It's just the reality of, if you have a mortgage to pay, you're putting up all this risk, you're doing your best, and you've got some tenants who just aren't even trying to work with you, like literally ignoring your calls. You got to do what you got to do. But I think some of the keys to what you talked about are the team. If you're going to go out of state and invest, you must have an all-star team, like you said, maintenance crew, property management, and just boots on the ground that are going to support you and make sure that the money keeps kind of coming in, the money keeps rolling in, and that any issues that come up are addressed without you having to get on a plane and get out there. And I think that's what scares a lot of people with investing out of state, and why a lot of folks choose to kind of bite the bullet and stay local. I know for me, like, I prefer with buy and holds to have something within an hour, 2 hours tops of where I live, just so I can get eyes on it. But that's not really my model. I'm primarily more development, and obviously I'm a lender. So, but when I did have a portfolio, it had to be within an hour of my house, man, because I wanted to get close. And that's why I went over the south of the border, because I wanted to make sure if something did come up, I did have the autonomy and feel like I was the landlord. Because when you get stuck, I had a tenant in Mass one time that it was a condo conversion I was doing. She would not leave. She just refused to leave. And guys, I offered her $10,000 to vacate. $10,000 I offered this lady. I'm not going anywhere. I'm disabled. What's your disability, ma'am? I have diabetes. I'm like, all right, I don't know if we categorize that as, you know, a disability that doesn't allow you to move. She was able-bodied, no issues. She was, you know, so she got the free legal aid. They fought it tooth and nail. So we said, all right, it's not going to be very comfortable for you living in here once this project begins. I don't care. I'm not going anywhere. So we ended up starting the second and third floor, demoing it out. We had to cut the water off at certain times on the day. We ripped the front stairs off the house. About 3 days in, I'm ready to go. Just give me that $10,000. So we still had to pay her 10. Plus, we paid an attorney like $3,000 to get it started. I think she ended up taking 2. So we ended up paying $12,000 just to get someone out, man. When, and we were going to help her find a place and everything. And she had actually already had a place identified, we were told by the previous owner, but her boyfriend kind of got in her ear and they were kind of living in there. And I think they were, there was some drug addiction issues. And he's like, don't take their money. They got to give you more than 10. It was like one of those things. You could hear him in the background kind of going hard there. So I just kind of share that story to kind of speak to the reality of even in a situation like that, we ended up having to pay an extra $12,000. Wow. It worked. We still made a profit. It was still a profitable venture for us. But like, that's just one of the evictions I've been involved with over the years. I'm in one now with one of our team members in the office. It's a listing they have, and the owner lives in Texas. She moved out of the house, rented it to one of her friends, and the friend won't leave. She's been in there now 2 years. It's a short sale. She's almost going into foreclosure. Hasn't paid the mortgage. Thankfully, we've been able to get it postponed. And the tenant who's in there, the reason it got delayed 2 years was COVID related. And then secondly, she requested a jury trial. So so there's all types of ways that they prolong tenants, it. It's really rough. And we talked to her. We offered her cash for keys. We offered her $5,000, $10,000. She's not even engaging because the court is so backed up with jury trials for tenancy. It's like she's just gonna wait until her case is heard. And
they know that, and that's what they take advantage of.
Correct. So I this is the downside. I mean, there's obviously a lot of upside, and you buy the right asset, and you have the liquidity to do so, but. Definitely being able to control your destiny. And when folks aren't able to perform and it doesn't work, you can kind of take possession of your property as a landlord. That is very important to maintain your family, to maintain your business, to maintain everything you're trying to do in the positive ways you're giving back, So, it makes sense, man. Makes sense. How did you do your first acquisition out there? Like, how did you go about finding your team, or who are the members of that team that make it successful?
In Ohio?
Yeah.
So, Ohio, I only been there twice. The first time was to go see and believe because one of my friends was buying out there. He was like, "Oh, I bought a house for $10,000. I bought a house for $20,000." I'm like, you remember the Wolf of Wall Street?
Right.
And he's like, "You showed me a check for $70,000. I'll leave my job right now." I was like, "You showed me a house for $20,000. I'll fly out there right now." He showed me a house, and I flew out there and I saw it. I was like, "This is insane." So it's out there. The market's insane. Like you literally have like your imagine downtown and then like a Mattapan type of place, like from 10 years ago.
Yep.
Now, obviously, it improved now. But they're like right next to each other. So it's like you don't even have like that midsection where it's like your South Bay, your Roxbury. You have just literally high end and then lower end. And when I saw that, I'm like, there's definitely opportunity here.
Yep.
So to me, it's like in the beginning, it's going to be rough. I know that because you're dealing with like a C class. But I feel like the long term, there's going to be a lot of opportunity out there. And then G is also going to be developing a battery powered factory out there as well in Toledo, Ohio. There's other areas like Columbus and Dayton, Ohio, that there's a lot of growth going out there. But the numbers just made sense. To me, it went back to the numbers and buying houses for like under $50,000, like acquisition and renovation. And I'm getting $1,000 in rent. You're hitting a 2% rule. So it's like, again, it has its pros and cons, but to me, the long term, I think it's a really good long term play because I already see houses appreciating. 3 years ago, you could find houses for like 20, 30 grand. Now they're increasing to 40, 50, 60. So I'm seeing the increase.
Yep.
So I'm betting on that more than anything. But to answer your question, like building the team is just like literally going online, doing research, talking to your boots on the ground, talking to property managers. Property managers will also give you information of where their investors are also investing, the zip codes. Like it gets that detailed to zip code. So there's zip codes in Toledo that I stay away from, and there's ones that are a little bit more higher end that I try to acquire more. And that's just inside information that the property managers will give you, and even the contractors know, because they just know the area so well. Real estate agents, they can't give you like, oh yeah, you should buy here, you should buy there, because obviously they can't discriminate. So it's, to me, to get that inside information, I go to property managers and the contractors, because they'll tell you, hey, this is what's going on in this zip code, stay away from that one. And then just testing them out, testing like handyman, testing contractors, seeing which ones work best, but whichever ones work for you. To me, it's just the trial and error type of phase, but it's really interviewing them, understanding how they work, and getting good referrals, and seeing if they have reviews online. Because obviously contractors, some of them are invisible online. I try to stay away from those. They may be good, but if they can get away and hide and not have any comments online, I don't take that risk.
No track record, no accountability.
Nothing.
And that's a great point you bring up, man. So your team consists of property managers, contractors. You have a legal team out there for your title work as well, and then like a realtor for rentals. Or how does that work?
I have an attorney, so out there you can work with the title company. So I did it so many times. I started buying so many properties that I just kind of understood the process. So like it's just literally like they give you a template, and then you take the PNS. You can actually go to the title company and close directly and with the homeowner. Yep. So once I understood the process, I felt more comfortable. I do have an attorney every so often if it's a little bit more complex of a situation. But for the most part, I just go directly to the title company, and then I can close with them directly to save money on that way. But
excellent, Roberto. So talk a little bit about the other venture you got going on. So now you're down in Puerto Rico.
So
you're Dominican though, correct?
No,
you're Puerto Rican. Okay, all right.
So I'm half Puerto Rican, half Guatemalan.
Oh, there you go. Beautiful, man.
Yeah, I either get I'm either Arabic or I get that I'm Dominican. So.
You're used to it. Yeah, man. Yeah, no, that's cool. So Puerto Rico. You got a spot down there, beautiful spot. I saw the videos. I've seen the images on IG, man. It looks very sexy, very nice. You're doing great work down there.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about the venture, the business side of it. Return on investment, how you found it, and just talk about the deal.
Yeah. So that property I actually found on Craigslist.
Really?
Believe it or not.
You didn't tell me that, man.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
It was on Craigslist. I met the owner. Older gentleman. He originally wanted like $350 for the property, and I was always negotiating. I'm like, no, I can only do like 200 something, and then we were always just talking, but I was building a relationship at the same time, and it really came down to I was trying to get it as a second home loan, but then the bank wouldn't approve it because it was not livable, so it was abandoned for like over 2-3 years, and there was like no water connect. It was a mess. But I saw the opportunity when I went to actually go see it, and you saw the view. Like the view, you can literally see, if you're familiar with the rainforest, El Yunque.
I've been there. So beautiful. I love it.
From the mountaintop, you can see El Yunque on your right side, and you can see all the way up to San Juan. So you're looking at 5 different cities. I was there for New Year's Eve, and when I tell you, it was the most magnificent view that I've ever seen of fireworks in my life.
Wow.
That was an experience. And to me, it's like, I had my challenges with that property. Obviously, it's never like a straight through project. But when you see the view, it's like everything it's like, oh, it's worth it.
It's worth it.
It's worth it.
Yeah.
That's it. That's how it felt. It's worth it.
Yep.
So to me, in my mind, it's $1 million property. It came with 2 acres of land.
Wow.
You have an amazing view. It has a villa that's 7 bedrooms. 2 bathrooms, a massive pool, and the view is just impeccable. And when I saw the land, I saw the opportunity. I'm like, wow, like I can, not only am I going to turn this into a Airbnb, and I can rent either the whole house or the first floor by itself and the second floor by itself, because I split it up. I have kitchens in both sections.
Mm-hmm.
But what I basically did was I also redid the balcony so that you can host events.
Nice.
Because to me, it's such a great location where you can even get married or do a proposal or have like a quinceañera or like a birthday party. Like that's the type of vibe that I see it. And then the land adjacent to it, it has the same view. So to me, I got plans done and it's over 9 units that I can develop there for an Airbnb community. So there's a lot of potential there, and that's what I saw. So a lot of people went, they saw the broken house, they saw the issues, and I'm like, I can get it fixed. I got it fixed. So I basically hired a contractor that I met through a mastermind program in Puerto Rico, and we just got to work. I basically put the property together. I was having trouble in the beginning because the banks wouldn't approve me, like I had mentioned, so I had to raise the capital. So out there in Puerto Rico, cash is king. So I raised $190,000 to basically acquire it, and then another $100,000 to renovate it. And it's been a journey. There's so many lessons learned, but I put the property together based off price labs and AirDNA numbers, because I'm taking a leap of faith, but it's also I'm pioneering a location where there's not that many Airbnb, so it's not oversaturated, and that's where I see the opportunity. Because in San Juan, you're looking at a small bedroom going for like $300 to $400. So when I did my numbers, this massive house can, right now my numbers, I kept them conservative. So all the numbers and all the data that I pulled are very conservative, because I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver to my investors. So I told them, look, at minimum I can get $450 per night for this house. And mind you, it's a 7-bedroom, 2-bathroom.
Super conservative.
Villa. Super conservative.
Yep.
Even at that price point with 65% occupancy rate, it came out to $7,000 to $10,000 per month gross revenues. You run all I have a spreadsheet, a whole analyzer that I got from the mastermind, the FI investors with Diego, and we pull the numbers. You're looking at maybe $3,000-$4,000 net.
Nice, and they're participating in that. So
they're
the way
participating,
it's more long-term investment for them.
Correct.
They're not looking to cash out. And
No.
You found the right investment partners, man. It's about structure. That's great.
It was all about structure. So I made sure that I was very clear with that. I'm like, look, this is long-term, long haul. Don't put money that there's people that I had to reject because they needed the money back.
They wanted like a year or 2 years or something like that.
And I told them, maybe this is not the right fit for you. I can probably find another project that maybe we can work in the future.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it's like I'm still in the process of raising $85,000 for 15% or $110,000 for 20%. With the $110,000, I can bring in 2 partners, 10% each, or 1 partner at 20%.
Gotcha.
But the opportunity that lies within there, like the fact that you can develop on the land, they're also going to be owning the land, but you can develop up to like 9+ units in there. So imagine $250 a night. Now we're talking like $40,000-$50,000 a month in just this type of investment opportunity that we're going to be seeing. So it's like, this is like, I'm pioneering something new, but to me, this is what needs to be done. And this is where the opportunities are in Puerto Rico. I'm going to places of the average tourist, they're used to San Juan, the capital, and that's it. They're going to get a whole different perspective of Puerto Rico from this mountaintop, and it's insane.
Beautiful, man. Is it currently, are you renting it now, or are you finishing it?
I'm in the final stages.
Okay.
We're in January, should be done in the next couple weeks, 2-3 weeks left.
Yep.
But the second floor is completed. First floor, we're just waiting for the kitchen to go in. Minor details, and we're good to list it.
Beautiful, man. How did you manage the project, Roberto? Were you flying back and forth? Did you have a responsible person down there who kind of took the lead? Speak on that a little bit.
So both. So it's Puerto Rico, so I didn't mind going there. So I was actually looking for excuses to go. I'm like, oh, there's a water leak. Okay, perfect. Let me fly out there. Let me go check it out. But I didn't have to go as much as I did. I went obviously because I just enjoy it, and it's, especially in the wintertime, you want to get out of the cold. I love going there. But I had a general contractor that oversaw the entire project. Amazing general contractor, worked with me very well. And he basically subcontracted the plumber, the electrician, the people that had to do all the flooring. Like he had his whole team. And that worked really well because it was less of project management that I had to do. I just put the deal together, designed it, picked the floor tiles, the bathrooms, the vanities, the kitchen, everything. But we had a scope of work, very detailed, what needed to be done. We had photos and everything. We used different software programs. I think we used Asana at one point to just manage the projects, to see what needed to be done, the timeline. But I gave myself 6 months originally. We are on month 7, but we're literally finishing it up.
That's great.
And it was because I didn't realize that Puerto Ricans party more than anybody else.
More than they like to work.
Correct. So like December, when we're like the final month, December.
Right.
Oh
Forget about it.
These people,
they're gone, man. They're gone.
Oh, gone. They're gone. So not only do they celebrate Christmas, they have New Year's, and then you think it's done. No, they have Three Kings Day in January 6th, I believe. January 6th, I believe.
Yes.
And you're like, okay, perfect. Three Kings Day, you guys are done. They're still going. They have what's called Sanse, and that's like a whole event that they have in Viejo Old San Juan.
Yep.
And literally, like you have thousands of people flooding into Old San Juan.
It's like that carnival season, man.
Carnival season. I think they just finished.
Yeah, you lost a month.
Now I'm getting phone calls. Oh, we need work. I'm like, yeah, where were you a month ago?
No, my wife's from Mexico, so it's very similar, man. They know how to party down there better than anywhere I've been. I'm telling you,
and
it's crazy.
They're so relaxed. It's like,
right.
I'm like, you have to have patience. That's one thing you have to learn.
Yeah, hey, a month off with all of that is not bad. You're doing great, man, for that.
So we're in the final stages. We're almost done. But the project, it had its challenges, but obviously that's what is making me a better investor out there, because I learned what to stay away from, and you need the experience. So like, no matter, like, I even teach this in my mentoring, like, no matter how well you plan, you learn, you're always going to have challenges and unexpected situations. It's learning how to become a problem solver, like you had said earlier, and just adapting to that change. You know, half of the problem is figuring out what the problem is. Once you have that, it's like, okay, how can we solve it?
Right.
So I can't tell you how many problems I have on a day-to-day basis with different projects, including, you know, Puerto Rico, Ohio, Massachusetts. But it's like, I don't let it get to me. You build thick skin and you're like, okay, how can we resolve it? And once you go with that mindset, it's a game changer.
No, I love it, man. As we wrap up, Roberto,
yeah,
what advice would you give to your younger self based on all of the experience you've had and everything you've learned? What advice would you give to your younger self before starting on this journey into real estate?
Seeking the right mentorship. You know, like, we don't come from wealth, you know, have amazing family, amazing values. To me, that's more important than anything. But when it comes to like financial literacy and wealth, like, it's something that we have to learn on our own. It's not something that we're educated. If we're not educated on it at home, we're not going to be educated on it in school. So it's like, you really have to seek that self-education and really want it and go after it yourself. You know, learn from people that are already doing what you want to do. Learn from people that have goals bigger than yours. You don't want to be the smartest person in the room. If you are, it's just because you're giving back. But you always want to put yourself in uncomfortable situations where you're constantly learning, constantly gaining from other people, and serving other people as well. But really finding the right guidance, leadership, and mentorship just in general, and sticking to that. I think it's so key. And
yeah, I totally agree, man. I think mentorship, you hit on the two keys and pillars, in my opinion, to growth and success. Your mentors and who you surround yourself with.
Correct.
That is huge. And I've seen it even play out in my own life as I've evolved and kind of changed my network and gotten different mentors. I've just seen the growth, right? Because I tell my team that as well. You know, I never want to be the smartest person in all the rooms I'm in, right? If I'm here pouring out to you guys, great, but I need to go somewhere else so I can get fed and I can learn as well. So it goes both ways, man. How can people connect with you, Roberto? You got your mentorship program. I'm really excited to, make some connections there and hopefully see you grow. And I've seen some of the people in your program, some of the stuff they're posting, some of the stuff they're working on. It's pretty awesome to see the growth that you've been really empowering people to experience by paying it forward. So how can folks connect with you?
Yeah, so I'm big on Instagram. I do a lot of posts at Roberto Green Jr., and that's where I post a lot. All the links are there as well. But my website is homecashbuyersacademy.com. And that's where people can learn more about the mentorship program that I have to offer. If they're interested in learning how to fix and flip, you know, we can always do like a one-on-one consultation just to talk about what your goals are and how it can be of service to you. And just getting into real estate. I think it's really important to, like I said, to get that mentorship program. But because I've done it, I feel confident in teaching other people to do it. And they can find me on the Instagram, the Facebook, LinkedIn, very accessible. And we can just stay connected.
Excellent. And then what kind of deals are you looking for, Roberto? What kind of deals should people send you? I know you're wholesaling, you're developing, you're flipping, you're doing Airbnb, you're wearing all the investor hats, man. So what types of deals would be ideal for you?
Right now I'm diving deeper in wholesaling. So like the off-market properties, these are the ones where, you know, people are looking to downsize, distressed properties where maybe it's not in the best condition, hoarder houses, homes that are just need rehabbing. These are the ones that I'm looking for because I actually pay people $5,000 per lead that they bring me that I'm able to close on.
Love that.
And that's me just giving back because I learned how to acquire them and charge a fee to other investors, but I'm also not a greedy person. So to me, it's like if I can benefit you and help you make, $5,000, why not help others? So
I love it. I love it, man. Well, I definitely, Roberto, want to really commend you for your work ethic, for your growth, for the transparency, and you just coming on here to share your story to inspire others as they're on their individual real estate journeys, entrepreneurial journeys and life journeys, man. So respect what you've done. Can't wait to see what you do in the future, man. And this is the first of many conversations we're going to have here.
I appreciate you.
All right, man.
Thank you.
Good stuff.